Please listen
Happy
carefully.
New Year!
It's not a new year.
No, it's not.
Welcome to Podchassis.
Welcome to Podchassis. Vehicle to talk about different things.
Basically, whatever we want.
Whatever we want. Yeah. Noah, what do we want to talk about? Well, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Lorenzo.
And as you've heard, I am Noah.
Yes.
Hi.
What are we talking about today, Noah?
First off, we're going to be talking about The Fast and the Furious. The
Mm.
first one. The first movie.
Yes.
The other one.
The fastest and the furious of all of them.
No, actually. They get more.
They get more furious?
They do.
It gets furious than the first?
I'm fairly certain they explicitly say that in the later movie names.
Too faster, too furious?
Yeah, that's more Fast than Furious.
Is it Too Fast, Too Furious? Or...
Yeah, that's the second movie.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird because that multiplies into 4.
So, Fast and Furious came out in 2001 and is directed by Rob Cohen. And I tried to take a look at this man's his directorial filmography, and like the biggest thing that sticks out is like XXX, the 2002 film, the action movie, and as well The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. And I was trying to take a look at where this movie falls. We both originally thought that this was one of the... Because there's the original Mummy trilogy, right? 1, 2, 3?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson Scorpion King trilogy. But this one doesn't exactly seem to follow that. So there's the original series.
Oh, good lord. There's so many of these.
There are, yeah. Okay, so we're starting off in our rail era, because the 1999 film is the one we all remember with, it's...
Brendan Fraser?
Yeah, Brendan Fraser is 1999, which is a remake of 1932's The Mummy. Then there's The Mummy Returns. Okay, no, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor is just Mummy 3.
Okay, well, isn't The Mummy Returns got what's his face, Scorpion King in it?
The Mummy Returns?
Yeah.
Is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in?
Isn't that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
Is it? Let's see. The Mummy Returns.
Oh no, the Scorpion King is 2002.
Yeah. Scorpion King is way later.
Oh no, they fight both the Mummy and the Scorpion King in The Mummy Returns.
Okay, but is it Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson though?
Is it?
The Rock, yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, he's literally just labeled as The Rock.
So he gets his own spin-off then. Okay, so he is actually... I didn't know that he was established. I think I've only ever seen the 1999 film and then trailers for The Scorpion King and The Scorpion King 2. There are 5 Scorpion King movies.
Oh, good lord.
The last one came out in 2018. And then 2 years later, a terrible disease spread across the entire world.
Dark Universe.
Coincidence? I think not. Dark Universe.
Do you remember Dark Universe?
Yes, of course I remember Dark Universe.
Dark Universe was the worst.
So we start off with I was trying to think. So it was Tom Cruise's The Mummy was the first. Well, no, Tom Cruise's The Mummy isn't the first one.
No, the first one's way.
Yeah. There's another remake that came out a long time ago that was supposed to be the start of Dark Universe and supposed to be incorporated into the other ones. So
hold on, I think I might know this.
It's so it's The Mummy, then The Invisible Man. It's not about werewolf. Was it a Dracula film?
I can't remember. I remember The Invisible Man being in it. Mm-hmm. I remember it took place on the Nautilus.
Yeah, the Nautilus was a part of. Yeah,
there was a huge thing. There was a big game hunter who was a big deal or something.
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I have seen that movie I think 3 times in my life, and I have never once properly actually cared about anything happening on screen. Mm-hmm. It's almost remarkable how many times you can see a movie and just walk away from it what, I think I just blacked out for 2 hours. What happened? Some movies are just hilariously unmemorable.
Mm-hmm.
And on that topic...
The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah! We brought it back!
You're running it back. All right, so we saw this, was it 2 months ago?
Oh, was it? That was long time.
I think it was probably 2 months ago. I can't see. August 12th, yeah. Almost 2 months on the dot. Yeah, 2 months and 2 days.
It's been a bit.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to just read really quick through some of this plot synopsis on totally not Wikipedia. So on a deserted highway, the heist crew, driving three modified Honda Civics, assault a truck carrying electronic goods, steal its cargo, and escape into the night. The following day, a joint Los Angeles Police Department and FBI task force sends LAPD officer Brian O'Connor undercover to locate the crew. Okay, the way this is written, is this just the original script for the film?
This is like so dry.
You know, it totally makes sense to me that they just handed every single one of the actors these five paragraphs. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
You kind of know what to do.
Go for it.
It writes itself.
We got
at that
cameras.
Point. So any big takeaways, I guess, from our first watching and soon to be only of the Fast and the Furious 2001.
One can only hope. But this movie kind of it doesn't understand what movies are. It's like they open up with an action scene of them robbing a truck, but you don't know who are these people, what's happening. Then you immediately cut away from that.
Oh yeah.
Into a to see like a cop. Or do we know he's a cop
yet? They play around with that a little bit. But I think he's first introduced as a cop.
To the main character being like a weird hanger-on, trying to like...
No. Yeah, no, we don't see him as a cop first. We see him eating the tuna sandwich. Yeah, he's tuna sandwich boy first, right?
Vin Diesel's sandwich boy. I'm talking about...
No, Vin Diesel is... He owns said sandwich location.
That's right.
And Michelle Rodriguez is waitress at said sandwich location.
That's right.
And Paul Walker is sandwich location tuna sandwich patron.
So we cut from a hard action scene where a dude almost dies.
And I'm pretty sure it goes straight into after he's done, he's with eating his tuna sandwich. He's talking to some guys in the parking lot who are harassing him, and we get 15 minutes in a homophobic slur.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Do you remember? Yeah,
it's a classic.
Yeah, great
awesome
scene. Love that scene.
That movie is so... I can't even say all over the place because it's very explicitly staccato.
Yes.
It's just like, action. No, hold on. Action. No, wait, hold on a minute. Action?
So after he's done getting harassed by the biker people or whatever in their cars, Vin Diesel comes out. He's like, "Ha ha, Paul Walker, you are hitting on my daughter,"
classic line.
And that leads into the street race, which is the first big race of the film, where there's all that funky junky about the nitrous. That's what.
We're introduced to Vin when he almost gets fired from his job, right? Right? Because Vin is a customer there, and he says something wrong to him, so his boss just sells him out.
Vin is always the mafioso of the film. Vin is the cool, calm, collected mafioso of the Fast and Furious. He's the established guy.
That's true.
Paul Walker, the film is from the perspective of Paul Walker entering this crime syndicate. And what I'm describing is really the only interesting way I see to interpret this film is through the lens of Paul Walker in putting himself into this role to meet up with Vin Diesel. And what happens is that Paul Walker, he's getting close to Vin Diesel or Dominic Toretto, and his boss, Paul Walker's boss, is like, "Hey, don't you go getting any man crushes on Vin Diesel, okay? That man is seriously dangerous." And that same scene happens about 3 times in the film. "Hey, Paul Walker, I know that Vin Diesel's looking mighty fine right now, but don't forget that he's a murderer, right?"
Now, Paul Walker, we must remind you, even though we have oiled his muscles, and he is extremely attractive and in his prime, you must not fall in love with Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
What's his character's name? Do we care?
Paul Walker? I don't.
No, Vin Diesel.
It's Dominic
Either
Toretto.
of them.
Dominic
Toretto.
It's funnier to say just the actor names.
Yeah, it's Vin Diesel.
Yes.
I mean, is he? I mean, he's acting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the interesting lens for me to see this film is it's that your perspective is Paul Walker, and you as the audience are trying to figure out, is Vin Diesel a bad guy? Are these people bad guys? Because the big twist at the end, or whatever, or the 3/4 mark, is that the Dominic Toretto and his gang, they are the people doing the electronics heists. Because you don't figure that out until about 3/4 of the way down.
Yeah.
So the first 3/4 you're spent trying to figure out this mystery.
And they like very explicitly point out a separate gang as like the main culprit.
Yeah, but that gets dismissed in like the first fourth of the film. They go the warehouse thing.
Yeah,
it's like right after the first quarter of the film. We go into investigating this
right
other
after
game.
the first race.
Yeah, so what they should have done is they should have held off on that warehouse sequence. You know, if they held off until like that third quarter mark,
you maybe could have had a movie.
Yeah, but put the reveal that it's the predominantly Asian gang. Mm-hmm. Take the predominantly Asian gang and revealing that they are innocent at the same time, because there's that house raid, right? Yes. The house raid of the Asian guy's house. Johnny Tran by Rick Yoon. Save that reveal for that third quarter, that intro to third act, like twist, that your climax. Put that simultaneously with like let's say Paul Walker is he's on a he's hanging out with Vin Diesel and he's trying to get Vin's trust, right? But this is simultaneously happening at the same time as the warehouse raid. These events are coexisting.
Oh, when you like cut between them?
Exactly, yeah. Like he's Paul's like I've got these guys in the bag. Like let it be a mystery. Like he's trying to figure out different pieces of information, which could lead to either or. But he's definitely thinking it's Rick Yoon's gang.
Better yet, you could even like if you wanted to play up Vin Diesel's character a little bit to make him a little more, I don't know, competent and less of like, I drive a car really good. Like. You could actually say that
stop drinking in my lawn.
That's where I drink.
Yeah.
Like you could definitely have a thing where he's like pinning the blame on them. Like planting evidence against them, like where he does crimes.
Maybe.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
you could do that.
As a minor plot point to just be like a justification for why that's going that way.
Yeah. Because who says because a movie is predominantly about cars, you can't have a semi-competent mystery, aspect to it?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's...
Because
they had a reveal.
At the start, it establishes two gangs. You got the Tran gang, and then what isn't seen as a gang at the start, the Toretto's. It just seems like this family. It's like you got the family, and then you have the predominantly Asian gang, and our mostly slightly racist American audience is thinking that it's probably the Asian people. It's gotta be Rick Yoon's gang, right? It has to be them, and we're thinking this entire movie that's them, and we're getting all this information that's them, and like, oh, here's the twist. It's Vin Diesel. He's running the whole thing, and Rick Yoon was completely innocent. And this whole FBI raid is happening at the same time that Paul Walker's getting close to Vin Diesel, and now he's in danger because Vin Diesel is about to bring him in, and now that's when we start that truck, the second truck sequence.
The second truck sequence, and also the whole like shotgun on lawn sequence, and the whole, because like I think the reveal of him being a cop and the reveal of them being the gang, those being close to each other was good. But if you had like a triple play in there with the like, oh, it wasn't the people we thought it was, it could have been fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah, that would accentuate the reveal. So moving on.
However,
yes,
when he reveals himself as a cop, you may remember the least... I could not take that scene seriously. Because he is having this heartfelt moment with Dominic's sister?
Daughter.
Daughter,
yes.
Is it?
Michelle Rodriguez, yeah. Oh no, Michelle Rodriguez is Dominic's girlfriend. Who is no? It's Dominic's sister.
Yeah, okay. I'm not crazy. Brewster.
Brewster. Yeah, Brewster.
So,
Owner of Toretto General Store. It's a general store.
She's the tuna lady.
They have
She's tuna woman. You know the one, like Aquaman.
Beautiful.
So, he's confessing his copdom to the tuna woman, and this entire tearful sequence of, I need to tell you something. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not who I've always said I was. You need to understand. I'm going to help you, but I've been lying to you this whole time. But our love, it was real.
Yeah.
This whole sequence is happening, and there is blaring dubstep and techno in the background. It's a huge party scene. It's just the entire background is people partying their pants off, and it's just the dissonance between the soundtrack of this like high energy techno nonsense with, I'm not sure I'll ever be able to trust you again. How do I know that you're lying? How do I know that you're not lying to me now?
They might as well be waving glow sticks around.
Like the just throw the glow stick bracelets
yes.
that people had in rave culture like back in the day. Exactly that. Just like if they were dancing while saying these things, it would not be any less weird.
Contrast that with the scene, I don't know if you remember this, when Paul Walker and Vin Diesel are sharing fish and chips. Do you remember how romantically shot that scene was?
No.
Yes, so they're at this like little shack that's serving them fish and chips or whatever. And you see the beach is across the road. There's no buildings or anything. They're both like sitting on a patio in a table for two, and they're facing each other, and it's so intimate, and like the sun is we're starting to get into the evening.
This.
It was so romantic.
Like. Yeah, some director was like, yeah, let's shoot this during the golden hour. It'll look really nice. And it super looks like a romance.
Yeah, somebody really understands semiotic theory over there in what is the Universal Pictures. Yeah, they really get it.
Question.
The subtext.
What does that word mean?
Semiotic theory is a theory with film. It's anything that says something without saying something. It's essentially like what symbols
Implicit?
are. Yeah, it's like what symbols are in a book. How rain means change and rebirth. That's like semiotic theory. So painting a picture of two people who are eating fish and chips together while the sun's starting to set is that's semiotically like that tells our brains like this is romantic, this is like profound and emotional.
Like if that were written in a book, I wouldn't have agreed, but you said painting.
Yeah.
And I very vividly saw an oil painting of Vin Diesel eating a fish.
I would buy that. I would frame that
near like the sunset.
I mean, I do have a high bar for when it comes to movie art in my realm.
Do not point to the Sherlock Gnomes 2 poster.
Yes.
That is...
It's not Sherlock Gnomes 2. It's Romeo and Juliet 2.
Sherlock Gnomes.
Colon Sherlock Gnomes.
Yeah. I hate that. I hate that with every fiber of my soul.
That's a story for another day.
Yes.
So continuing on, I completely sidetracked you. So you were talking about... why you feel like it fails to be a film.
It's like, how do you put it? Have you ever seen somebody mess up making a casserole somehow?
Like the layers just like come up, the layer doesn't actually fill over the whole thing. And it's like uneven.
How do I put it? You can't really make a casserole bad. You can make a casserole subpar. But people who make a casserole bad usually do so in one of two ways. One is the catastrophic. You set your oven on fire. Like the Sims level, like blackened, horrible monstrosity thing. The other thing is what did you do? I don't understand what you did to this level of like just non-understanding. They put all the same ingredients into the pan, but somehow through like whatever the inverse of a green thumb is, but for cooking, have produced some horrific mash instead of a delicious casserole.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this has all the ingredients of a real movie, of a good, like, halfway decent summer, like, it's a slow month kind of a movie, action blockbuster type deal, where you, like, get a little drunk and then sneak candy into the theater. But instead, they've somehow managed to, like, shuffle the salad into the wrong order, and now you're getting a face full of tomatoes in the first half hour or something. It's really bizarrely, like, paced. And because of that, or rather, the cause of that is because they refuse. That's what it is. It's a burrito.
Okay. We're switching analogies.
We are switching analogies. I've realized what it is. A burrito is supposed to have a stripe of everything in every bite. This is somebody who has developed the roll of quarters burrito, but of movies, where they introduce something and do not stop talking about it until it is resolved, and then they start a new thing. It is the equivalent of biting into a burrito and getting, that's guacamole.
Yep, you get the whole bite of guac, then you get the bite of sour cream.
And then a bite of rice, and it's just like, this is the worst
I bet
burrito
if you took
experience
up
of my life.
all the mash in your stomach, it's pretty well mixed then. If somebody were to eat that, then they would have a good experience.
Like, you're better off just throwing the thing into a blender and then trying the mixture.
The Cinco food tube.
It's really a movie that I feel like, you know how movies can be made in editing? This movie was flayed in editing. It was, like, ripped asunder of what it could have been.
Yeah. The timeline of the film doesn't really matter. Like, there
really
is, like,
doesn't.
the ticking time plot is, we gotta stop these people before they hit another truck. And, like, what is, he's an LAPD officer. So there's, like, the LAPD, and then it was the FBI.
Yeah, he was working with, like, some, like, triple letter agency.
They're like, your butt's on the line, Mikowski. You're
a loose cannon.
You're a loose cannon. Yeah, the mayor's on my butt. You
gotta go catch Jaws.
You gotta go catch Jaws. He's out there. And he could look surprisingly like Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
I almost said Win Diesel. And my mind went to straight to because of Winn-Dixie. Do you remember that?
No.
Was that like 2010, 2009?
I have no idea what you're
Movie
talking
about a dog. It's a film for another episode. That's about.
Alright, sure.
I remember it being one of the trailers on the DVD for Garfield, the movie.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the age we're talking about.
That's a reference I totally should have gotten.
Wait, do you know? Do you remember the commercials? I believe I've just discussed with you this before. It's only FX. FX has the movies. It was like an offshoot of Fox. Like Fox had their TV channel FX.
Yeah.
And they had a trailer that was like, only FX. FX has the movies. Only FX. FX has the movies. And they just repeat that. And
it was one of those skip through ad campaigns where they're relying on the fact that you skipped into it and like heard a single phrase and then skipped out.
Yeah, like something like that. Yeah, but it's like, so they're showcasing all the different movies that are showing on FX, and it's like because of Winn-Dixie, Fast and Furious, and Garfield. And like it's such a stellar line. I watched that. That's along the same time frame as your you wouldn't download a car stuff.
That advertising methodology was, I think, made most mockable by Head On. Are you familiar with Head On?
Apply directly to the forehead.
That's the one. Head On, apply directly to forehead. And it is the dumbest ad campaign because it feels like the advertising equivalent of somebody jingling keys in front of your face. It's so nothing.
But the FX trailer advertisement is really good though. It's a work of art. Trust me. So Noah, would you like to describe to me what this document is that I have pulled up right here? Would you like to tell the audience what we're looking at?
So, what we see here is a Word document with 3 columns, or I guess 3 measured things, in which we have, in the process of watching the first Fast and Furious movie, decided to catalog its gratuity. We, at first, I think we still are thinking of trying to calculate what is the difference over time here, because we have 3 categories. gratuitous male, gratuitous female, and gratuitous advertising, the secret third gender. And that is our sort of criterion, is gratuitous. And I think the criterion we used in the moment was, would a teen look at this and go, woo?
Awooga. I'm going to pause this at a later time.
Yeah, is this like somebody's going to freeze frame it?
Yes. Is this a freeze frame moment? And
exactly.
So,
and the premise of this was to determine, do the Fast and Furious movies, because like as they go on, they start like using, you start getting established characters, and we start seeing much more shirtless Vin Diesel.
Yes.
So we had the question of, these are movies that are made to appeal to masculinity.
Yeah.
To, well, for lack of a better term, straight white dudes. And we had the question, do these movies get more gay over time? Are you spending more time staring at man cheeks than you do woman cheeks?
Like, think of the have you seen the poster for Skyscraper, the Dwayne the Rock Johnson movie?
No,
it's like Dwayne the Rock Johnson's Die Hard, and the poster is him, and he's got the Die Hard you know what a wife beater is?
Yes.
Yeah, he's got the shirtless white the sleeveless white tank top. And so he's got like the wife beater on, and it's like covered in sweat, and he's reaching his big meaty hands out towards the end of the poster. And so essentially the criteria was, the reason why we used the word gratuitous is it had to be enough for us to say they went out of their way to make this such. Like, yes. So Vin Diesel just wearing a wife beater doesn't count. Now let's say we see way more proportions of the mid-chest area than we normally would. That would be gratuitous.
Like a down angle shot, I think was one of them.
Yeah, or let's say his sweat is so much that he's glistening.
It's like sticking to him.
Like he's covered in suntan ocean. That's gratuitous. But if he's just there and he's pale, probably sunburning out there in his tank top, then that's not. No. Or different actions could make gratuitous. Like there's in the drag race at the start, there's like a girl who makes some sort of like sexual reference to her boyfriend who's about to race or whatever, and I think he gropes her or something like that.
I think he does.
Yeah, and so that would go towards gratuitous female, and then gratuitous advertising is that holding the Coca-Cola can out to the camera.
Yeah, label side facing the camera.
Every single piece of technology is Sony.
I am drinking a Corona Light beer.
Yes.
Have a sip. I put a lime into it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, just like an advertisement. So those were the categories. So the first one, what were your expectations going into the film? We should probably next time try to record expectations first.
I honestly, like, when I was going into it, I thought this movie would be a lot less sexual than it is. And I know that was what we were measuring, but the sheer, like, it's much more than you think it's going to be, and yet less than you really, like, less than you thought it would be, in the, like, moral sense. Like, you expected the worst from this franchise. But also, you didn't actually think a movie would get there with this level of, like, gross on it.
I think for myself,
there's also how it aged poorly.
I wasn't really expecting, because like the gratuitous male, when that comes in later in the franchise, you're definitely thinking of it's unintentional in an attempt to make Vin Diesel and other characters look like the ultimate badass. It accidentally makes them look really gay.
Yes.
And so that's what we're thinking of. That's why we have these categories split up.
Makes them look honky.
Yes.
What can I say?
But when I go into this film, I'm like, okay, they just made one movie. They probably weren't thinking franchise, like at the start.
Yeah.
So I was pretty much lowballing it mentally for the gratuitous male. I'm like, this isn't going to be the most interesting. This isn't going to be the most comedically.
I also thought it'd be pretty balanced between the two.
Yeah.
But oh goodness.
Yeah, that's when the movie starts showing its age. Yeah, there's a lot of like legitimate sexual harassment.
You remember the first Transformers Michael Bay movie?
I never saw it, but you're Shia LaBeouf. Yeah. Megan Fox.
Just for reference on that movie, I think it opens up with the main character reading out the Romeo and Juliet laws.
Does it?
It does.
Oh my goodness. Michael Bay, why?
And that's literally like what he talks about for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It is like literally him going, dude, it's totally okay. It's like the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Optimus Prime says statutory rape is bad.
Bumblebee doesn't. Bumblebee like helps the man hook up by playing like romantic tunes at his jukebox. That movie sucked.
I cannot imagine Shia LaBeouf being young. I'm sorry.
That's our timeline.
He'll always be 35 with a beard, getting trolled by 4chan.
That's the one.
Yes.
So like the thing about our findings was and for one, I should note, you put this in Roman numerals. Why did you make the? Please tell the audience and the sweet people at home, why did you put Roman numerals?
It makes it.
You had to go out of your way for that.
I did. Yes, I did. Because it's easier when you're typing it, right? You don't want to just go 1, then delete, then go 2, and then delete and go 3. Because then you can just move on. You just type 3.
You transcribed this from your phone.
Yes.
You could have just written
like
2, 3.
I would have done tally marks if I could do that. I would have done tally marks.
You can tally mark in your phone.
Can you tally mark on Google Docs?
Use a slash. Literally, you could just do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a backslash and then space, and that is enough. But you went for Roman numerals.
Yes, this is
That's
concise.
disgusting.
This is a scientific. This is a
literally...
scientific investigation, and it deserves scientific nomenclature.
Are you like a 13th century scientist that thinks Latin is the ultimate language of the gods? Like, because
it's an efficient way to tally things.
Wait, there was some like that was a real thing. Is scientists for a while were like, I want to make sure nobody can read this who isn't a scientist.
Yes.
So I'm going to write it in Latin.
So I think the most entertaining way to reveal this is go from least to greatest. So the least category, so it's gratuitous male, gratuitous female, gratuitous advertising. The least in this category was gratuitous advertising. It's with a 2. Not too terribly surprising. As these films go on, it's like when you have a TV show and the pilot is pretty long. It's longer than the normal episodes because the normal episodes you fit all those ad breaks and everything in there normally. So this is really your hook. And the rest of the films, they're creating the film equivalent of cable television, where the entire idea is the advertisement, right?
It's like a CW.
This is the area. This is not the era. The era of television, of film, where you wouldn't make a movie with a big budget just to shove advertisements into it. Like nowadays, like Amazing Spider-Man 1. Full of advertisement. It's so full of gratuitous advertising.
Well, I won't say gratuitous advertising is new. You know, like there's infamy of the past because they didn't have the tact that they do nowadays.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is
modern movies will be like, I am drinking a refreshing Coca-Cola, and like slurp it up. But then you have like the 90s, which had the Yahoo sign from the Inspector Gadget movie.
But okay.
Which is nothing. That's a complete non sequitur. Or in a slightly more recent example, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles falling into a pile of Bud Light beer cans.
But I guess maybe the better way to phrase it is that this is a telltale sign that it wasn't originally supposed to become what it has. You know?
I don't think they ever planned there would ever be another movie.
Yeah, exactly. And if you did have the concept of this gigantic film series that never ends in your mind, you would start square one with that level of advertising, right? You're capable of it, but they didn't. So that was surprising. The only examples are like beer at a party is really most of it.
It was specifically Corona. I don't know why that's important, but it is.
Yes. So going on to second highest is a gratuitous male with a 6. Yeah, these were just more odd shots, questionable. Yeah, most of it was questionable filmography, specifically giving like a shot of Vin Diesel where his head is the top quarter of the screen and the other 3/4 are his pecs.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah, like the way that the film is shot also counts for gratuity, because that is also why gratuitous female is the largest at a 23. Because there is a lot of sexualized cinematography in this film,
like
around female characters.
Honestly, I thought it would be pretty close, because I am familiar, at least passingly, with modern Fast and Furious, which is, there are a lot of scenes that are just, hi, I'm a shirtless Vin Diesel working on a car in the heat. Observe my bronzed everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, there's going to be a ton of those. There were 6 is such a small number.
It is, yeah.
Compared to my expectations. On the flip side, the female is so much more than you ever want it to be. Mm-hmm. It's so excessive.
Yeah.
You have entire scenes where you have, weird, prop top, belly exposed, like butt in the camera, way too close to a low chest shot, seeing a dude legitimately just grope a lady. It's too much.
Okay, here's a question.
It's legitimately gross.
What is the bigger focus in the film? Is it the female anatomy or cars?
The female anatomy.
I think
that might change in the future.
There are legitimately more gratuitous shots of females than there are muscle car shots.
If they knew anything about cars, they wouldn't do half of what that movie does. Mm-hmm. Such as, I've hit the nitro. This has made a panel of my floor fall out.
Am I remembering correctly? That has the 3D, the CGI shot that goes inside the car, right? Like Turbo did?
Yes.
That I think that is a trendsetter. I think this film.
I think it was the first to do that.
Yeah,
It didn't do it well, and then immediately showed him having a weird panel that he was controlling the nitrous from, and he then had a panel of his floor fall out and start scraping sparks from the ground.
I want somebody to re-edit this film just as the love story between Vin Diesel and Paul Walker.
I thought you were going to say Paul Walker and his car. And honestly, I was going to be here for it.
Paul Walker's the weak man whose silly nitrous isn't strong enough to beat big Vin Diesel, big man Vin Diesel.
I mean, Vin Diesel is the hunk.
Mm-hmm. And he comes up and he saves poor Paul Walker from his sad little his sad little ways, and he teaches him how to become big car man.
Now, feel free to cut this segment out. Moving on to something or anything else.
Okay. Any final words for 2001 A Fast and Furious Odyssey?
2001 Too Faster, I'm Faster it's almost a movie. Mm-hmm. And for that I can say it was more entertaining to think about watching it and to talk about having watched it than to be in the process of watching it, because we had a terrible time. Mm-hmm. We had alcohol and still didn't have fun. It was not a good time. It was a very, very sort of it's a movie of non sequiturs, which makes it very hard to be invested in anything. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's like watching 24, if you remember the show 24, and just watching a minute of every episode and having no context for what's happening. It's not easy to be invested in a show that refuses to give you context for things until it's boring. And that was the fast. Mm-hmm. That was the furious fastness, and it was not. Do we give it an out of 10?
No, it's up to you. You can choose. I personally, with this film, like I said, I think there is potential for just a really well crafted mystery action film here. But really, it's obvious that the focus wasn't on that sort of filmmaking. It was more just this plot, this moment leads to that moment, leads to that moment, leads to that moment. But it's not necessarily building up to anything. if there is a spike that happens, it's just because that's where they put the action scene. And with the film. I was really upset at the end of the film because it didn't conclude. Vin Diesel finds out that Paul Walker is an agent, and they decide to race over it, and that's it. The movie ends after that race.
There's a train.
Don't forget,
there's a train.
Paul Walker saves Vin Diesel, and that's it. That's the interesting way to interpret this film is. The cars do the talking. It's like a musical, but instead of musical numbers, it's cars.
It's a metaphor for their bodies. No, it isn't. But
no, it's the cars are the emotional. They convey the emotional story.
It's the chassis.
It's the chassis. Yeah, exactly.
No, no, it isn't. The Fast and the Furious. We definitely watched it.
I definitely saw this film. And I'm definitely ready for Too Fast, Too Furious.
No, but we're gonna do it anyway.
We're gonna do it anyway. Yep, it's 2 years later.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So the gap between the films. So 2001.
The gap gets wider.
2003. Yep. So 2 years, then 3 years, then 3 years, then 2 years, then 2 years, then 2 years, then 2 years, then 4 years. And then
there's more that haven't happened yet.
Oh, you also have to place Hobbs and Shaw in between 2006. So yeah, it's about every 2 years, 2 to 3 years, we get a new Fast and Furious film. And it looks like so we're about to go into John Singleton's film. Is Too Fast and Too Furious. He did Boys in the Hood, and then Justin Lin takes over. Then James Wan does one. Then F. Gary does Fate of the Furious, which is the only film I saw in the series before. And then Justin Lin comes back. So it looks like they've actually swapped around a decent bit. James Wan's pretty decent.
The only movie I'd ever seen before we started this is Tokyo Drift, which is the third movie. I
think so. One thing we're gonna want to look out for is that Gary Scott Thompson looks like he's the main writer on the first two. Oh, David Ayer also.
Oh,
David Ayer is that's a story for another day. I did not know he worked on the first Fast and Furious. So Gary Scott Thompson is he's your Fast and Furious 1 and 2 guy. And then Chris Morgan comes along, and Chris Morgan seems like he's running the show for the modern 3 plus beside discounting 9 Fast and Furious films. So that might be something to look forward to. Is there a tonal shift post Fast and Furious 2 that can be seen that may be attributed to Chris Morgan becoming in charge of the screenwriting for the film? So that's something to look forward to, because we will be covering eventually every single one of these Fast and Furious films on the podcast.
We're gonna get it. We're gonna get there.
It'll happen one day.
And just so that nobody thinks we haven't mentioned it, yes, the naming system of these movies is horrific.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's terrible.
It has probably the worst movie SEO I've ever imagined.
Mm-hmm. And that is a conversation best saved for the next movie, because the next movie is Too Fast, Too Furious, and that's such a great title. That really, honestly, I don't think we have the ability to discuss the how great that title is without seeing the film that it's attached to.
We'll make fun of each title when we get there.
I'm like, is that Ludacris? Who's the rapper in the bottom middle? Yeah, Ludacris. I called it. Yeah, that's Ludacris.
You know what? I couldn't pick Ludacris out of a lineup. Congratulations. Genuinely. Like, I couldn't have done that.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Mr. Not So Worldwide.
Now that we've identified Ludacris, let's move on to topic number 2.
What's topic number 2, Noah?
Topic number 2 is Wizard 101.
Yes, Wizard 101 is a free-to-play, free-to-start, I guess, MMORPG for children, developed by King's Isle Entertainment. It was released in 2008, and it's been staying strong ever since then. It's still running. It recently got a Steam release.
It's technically still functional, but I would not call it in the way that MMOs very rarely die.
It's still getting major updates though. Like,
wait, really?
Yeah, in September of 2021, players can achieve a maximum level of 140.
Oh, they recently raised the level cap.
Yeah, they did. So people are apparently still playing this.
People are still playing Wizard 101?
Yeah.
Jeez.
You can't play it in Taiwan or China. Apparently, that stopped in 2015.
Well, it's because
Europe
it's cursed.
and America. Yeah,
And it's got dark magics. So
it does.
Yeah.
Spooky wookie. It has a 77.5 on GameRatings.com.
I guess, so to start or preface this, what was your experience with Wizard 101?
So, Wizard 101 was, I think everybody starts with Wizard 101, right? I definitely started with Wizard 101. I always have that stereotypical, like, you make the character that's dressed in all black, and you make him a part of... So the game has different schools of magic you can go towards, and that's like the different class systems of the game that determines stuff like what is your average percentage to hit for spells, and what type of spells do you heal often, stuff like that. That's what your class would determine. And so I did the stereotypical, you put your character in black clothes, give him white hair, red eyes, and he's School of Death. I think his name was Robert Deathfrost or something like that. Something real cringy.
I think that's a Kingdom Hearts character.
Probably. I think he got ported over into there. It's just that Square Enix
they
team.
ported explicitly your Wizard 101 character.
They did. So
didn't that have like a Disney tie, or am I thinking of a wrong thing?
I'm not sure. So
there was something similar to Wizard 101 with Disney on it.
Disney has a lot of different
mostly defunct MMOs.
All defunct MMOs. So my experience with Wizard 101 was specifically revolves around the first thing is the real boring combat is so the game is like a card game, and you have a deck of wizard spells, and you get those randomly added to your hand. You use a mana system called pips. If you decide not to, you can cast a spell that costs a pip. You get like 1 pip every turn. I believe you start with an additional pip. And you can cast the spells with those. If you choose not to cast, if you pass, then you get additional pips that you can use to cast spells. Blah blah blah. That's how it goes. More pip spells deal more damage, etc. etc. If you have cards in your hand you don't like, you can put them away. This battle system is just so boring for an MMO for children. It really feels like this feels like a system for a game that wasn't really designed for children, because it's a battle system that is it's kind of needlessly complicated, and uninteresting is a word for it. It's either it's a game system designed for a game that's not for children, or it's a game system for a game for children that's poorly designed. It's one of those two, because it definitely was not done well for a child audience. So I remember that. I remember like the starting areas. I've done the tutorial probably 20 times by now. And then I remember that the free-to-play wall that you hit, because the game gives you probably about like 3 chapters, which is like 3 big story quests to do, with certain side quests along the way that unlocks about 3 central areas of the game. And I remember that in the olden days of Wizard 101, actually I think it's something that you may still be able to exploit to this day. There's like there's a quest about a character named Penny Dreadful, and her quest is like a 3-parter, and it gets you a really cool magical item. But the third sequence of that quest line is locked behind a non-pay-to-play window. And you could actually, because it was located inside of the common area, technically, you just couldn't access it. You could teleport to a friend that had a membership inside of that area, and you can play with them. So I remember you being able to like access the pay-to-win content just by teleporting to friends who actually paid for it, which I thought was really funny. But the last big thing I remember about Wizard 101, and tell me if you've ever experienced this before, there's one quest where when you go out into the common area that leads out into like Triton Alley and Firecat Alley and everything, and it has a bear there. He's like a grizzly bear citizen, And if you go talk to him, then he sends you on some side quests to do some fetching items and everything, normal MMO stuff. And what he eventually sends you to is he sends you to his home place, and you go get to visit the bear village. And the bears have like a marketplace, and you can buy certain really expensive items, but you only get to go once. It's like another world that if you have a membership, you'll eventually return to. And that, do you know this quest I'm talking about?
No.
The infamous part of this quest is that it ends with a musical performance by the Jonas Brothers.
What?
Yes. The Jonas Brothers, they're like at the end of it. So give me 1 second, I'm gonna pull this up. Okay, so we'll cut this out. Okay, we are proud to announce that the soundtrack for a new expansion, Winter Tusk, was wholly written and performed by superstar singer/producer Nick Jonas of the Jonas Brothers. There's a rendering of him in the game. Visit Nick in Grizzleheim, available to players 5 and up. Yeah, so Nick was actually in the game, and you could visit him. Let's see. There's Nick Jonas. There he is. Yeah, that's Nick Jonas in Wizard 101. He's just vibing. Yeah, you see as a lower level player, like this is your screen cap entering into the Grizzleheim quest, and there's Nick Jonas there hanging out with some musical flowers. And
all of them are trumpets.
Oh yeah, that was super memorable to me. Like, oh no. There's some DeviantArt stuff on the side here.
Maybe just close.
Oh, this is DeviantArt.
Yeah, no, you're on DeviantArt.
Okay, yeah, let me get away
There's
from
some DeviantArt stuff here. I wonder why.
Oh, okay.
That is opening your email and wondering why there are emails there.
Mm-hmm. So the last thing I remember about Wizard 101 is the pet stuff. And the pet stuff was always the coolest thing. But I'm going to save that because we'll probably go into depth on the pet stuff. Why don't you talk about your experience with Wizard 101?
So, and this may seem a little strange, I have never played Wizard 101 in my life. I have literally never played it. I've played a lot of gross, mediocre MMOs when I was a child on a terrible little dinky laptop that my dad was like, I've got an extra, here you go. Mm-hmm. And it was this awful gray cube of a thing that barely worked. Like, easily this thing is from like 1998. And I was using it like 10 years later. And the only reason I never played Wizard 101 was not for a lack of wanting. This hunk of garbage literally could not play it. Like, I tried to play these, like, you remember the Nicktoons MMO?
Oh yeah, that was like the one with like the blue text and everything.
Yes.
No, I remember that. I played that. Like Stormfall or something like that. It was no, Fusion Fall.
Fusion Fall, that's the one.
Fusion Fall. There's actually a project to recreate Fusion Fall.
I remember like desperately trying to play these MMOs, and the only one I could get to work was Fusion Fall at like, no joke, 2 frames a second. It was really genuinely unplayable.
You get to play like as Generator Rex, and you got to walk around like Ed and Eddie.
I couldn't leave the tutorial. Like I spent hours sitting there plinking away at Fusion Fall, trying to function with its combat tutorial when I have 2 frames per second, and you just can't. It's probably legitimately impossible. If anybody out there has had that situation, send me an email that we don't have yet. And let me know. What was the experience like? I've never played Fusion Fall. Not really. But Wizard 101 was something that I was constantly advertised to about. It was I was definitely like a Nick kid, and they spammed you with that stuff. They swamped you in Wizard 101 ads.
You know, every time you close Wizard 101. Do you know what happens whenever you close Wizard 101?
No.
Every time you close Wizard 101, it brings up King's Isle's website, which is full of shovelware Flash games.
Well, Flash doesn't work anymore. How does that work?
Does it? Is it functional?
Well, all right. We got a mystery on our hands.
Let's see.
Oh, this website is...
Oh, it's so old.
It's antique.
Is it down? Did they remove it?
It's possible that they just didn't need it anymore.
Yeah, it was like a big website full of like shovelware stuff, and every time you closed Wizard 101, it would open that up immediately. And they had like games themed around Wizard 101. So continue.
So Wizard 101 was constantly advertised to us.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say constantly, I mean like inundation. There reaches a point in advertising, which I believe is referred to as super saturation, where not only is it no longer effective to add more, it is becoming less effective by adding more. And we definitely reached that point with Wizard 101. I remember seeing the first, 10 ads for Wizard 101 and going, oh my goodness, I wish I could play this. This sounds so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Around the, 120th, you are ready to watch anything else. You are ready to change the channel and watch the Antiques Roadshow instead of Ed, Edd n Eddy, because good lord, this is untenable. You see the same 4 ads a dozen times each, and you are done. Even as a kid, you have standards for how you are treated. And I may be the kid who watched the Crazy Frog music video on repeat 100 times until my parents banned it. But even I could not sit through that many Wizard 101 commercials.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't stand it.
Mm-hmm.
But I still wanted to play it really bad. And seeing all the screenshots from it, which at the time felt like magical pictures of the unknown, because I had never played an MMO in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it was it's like Spyro, but with other people. Wow. I was like...
It looks like Spyro.
It does, a little bit. It's that geometricism.
Oh, yeah.
It's it's such a perfect encapsulation of the time period and the game design philosophies of that time, because it's money making. They were still on a subscription service, but they were one of the first child oriented MMOs to introduce the free to play a little bit of it system, which is really very powerful. So powerful, in fact, we have passed laws.
Yes, exactly.
To restrict such things.
Mm-hmm.
And
predatory is the word for it.
Yes, predatory marketing. And Wizard 101 was everything about that and more. Mm-hmm. I just was unable to play it.
Never revisited it when you had the hardware too?
I didn't have the hardware to for 3 years after that point. And by that point I was please, I'm far too busy playing all of the various
Team Fortress
Respect 2? The Pouch mini games on the website.
Okay, that is saved for a different day. I want to talk about the Disrespectoids.
Yes, the Disrespectoid. Oh my, we're talking about that another time.
Yes.
So good.
Put a pause on the Disrespectoids.
Let's put a pin in the Disrespectoid.
Yes, exactly.
We'll come back to that with Babe 2 Pigs in the City.
So, any other notable things about Wizard 101 when it comes to the free-to-play aspect that I experienced, the coolest areas in the game that you could access, the coolest area was the school itself. The story was that the dark house, because you actually, if you were part of the dark school, the school of death magic,
necromancy,
school of death, if you were part of the school of death, you didn't actually have your own school building. Every school of magic had their own building, but you don't have one because it was ripped off of this this island. It was taken off and teleported elsewhere. Whoa. And that's one of the inciting incidents of the game. But that specifically, Ravenwood, I think is the name of it, some Hogwarts, because this is all really capitalizing on Harry Potter and that sort of wizard phase. The Ravenwood was a really cool place to walk around. It has a really interesting thing about it that is even more so involved in Pirate 101, but essentially they have this carousel little like carnival area where you just play flash games. So like you would just go there.
You play darts or something.
Yeah. It would be loaded like it would be like a Wizard 101 themed darts or a Wizard 101 themed beat 'em up, and like it has
it's like a Homestar Runner.
It had flash games integrated into the game itself, and I believe you could go play those flash games on KingsIsle's website, which we cannot find. I think it may be like a different website that just houses all the KingsIsle flash games.
It's also possible it's just not in use.
It is also possible it's not in use. But yeah, so that was like a big thing. So moving on to the spin-off, it's set in the same universe. It is a sister MMORPG, as not Wikipedia says, released in 2012, is Pirate 101.
Topic number 3, baby.
Topic number 3, Pirate 101.
This I have more experience with.
Yes.
Due to your incessance.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Mm-hmm. You got to talk about Wizard 101, but I have real personal experience with this one. Huzzah!
Yes.
I have played Pirate 101. Unfortunately, I played Pirate 101 this year. So
we experienced all
Isn't
of the
this
free-to-play
literally
content.
A decade old?
Yeah,
it's almost a decade old.
It's almost literally a decade old. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Pirate 101 is almost a decade old MMO by the same people who did Wizard 101, set in the same universe, but with vastly different combat systems, a very different like location and story, and also I played it this year for some reason. We got a bunch of friends together and decided to play Pirate 101 as
it was like
party.
a 6-man, right?
It
was total of 6 people. Yeah, it was 4 people, max 4 people at a time, because that's as many people as you can shove into one dungeon. But it was about 6 people. Yeah.
Yeah, and we played I think all of the free content for Pirate 101.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which, granted, is not as much as there used to be, apparently, according to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we had a hilarious time with it. We named ourselves, I think, political figures or something, or celebrities. You were Scarlett Johansson.
I was Scarlett Johansson. Mm-hmm.
I was like some British prime minister or something. I don't remember. And the only thing we agreed upon is everybody had a different class.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody had a shared class, so that nobody had shared equipment. And unfortunately, this means nobody had shared equipment, because fun fact about Pirate 101, you can't trade. You cannot trade equipment in an MMO. You cannot trade equipment in an MMO. I'm going to say that a third time. You cannot trade equipment in the Pirate 101 MMO. So if you pick up anything for a class that isn't you, it's garbage.
Exactly.
You picked up garbage. Throw it on the floor. Well, it's useless.
The only use for it is that you have a shared bank between your characters. So if you picked up a gear for a different class, it would still be leveled to the character you got it at, but you could put it in your bank and save it.
But there are also level requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you can pick up a level 300 piece of gear. It doesn't go that high.
Mm-hmm.
A level 100 piece of gear and give it to your level 3 character.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'd have to be level 100 to receive it. Which is really, really pointless.
Mm-hmm.
And for a game about playing it with other people, the inability to trade at all is unbelievably choking. So Pirate 101 is something we played together.
Mm-hmm.
And despite Googling, I think, no short of 10 times, how do you trade in Pirate 101? We learned, unfortunately, you can't.
Yes.
But we still had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because we played through that game and just, I think, annihilated its combat because we were grouping up on enemies and ganging up on them and using all of our big abilities because
the goal became who was gonna one shot the boss first.
Yes.
Yeah, it was it was great.
We the last thing we ever did in it was grind the boss, the furthest boss we could access, to try and steal his daggers.
But no, he wasn't the furthest boss. Because Fen Dorsal is the character. He's got he's a shark that has
We didn't
steampunk
find a boss
duck.
after that though.
I guess no we did. There's that sacrifice. It wasn't a boss, but it was like a dungeon.
Yeah, but like
the rhino mummies.
Those are like, strong enemies, but they're not a named boss.
I guess I guess you could call it the final boss we encountered, which is about
the first boss we encountered,
which was about halfway through a little over halfway through the
I also fought
game
the
time.
lizard chieftain. So
yeah.
The second boss really ever. I remember staying up until 3 a.m. with three other very tired people my age, playing a game that is 10 years out of date, trying to get a pair of daggers from this weird shark man. I'm not positive we ever got it.
We did. I think Tears got.
Yes, and he was the one who was looking for them.
Yes, it was perfect because I think you can only equip them as a buccaneer.
Yes.
I think he is playing the buccaneer. So do you want to talk about the class system?
So the class system, from what I recall, well, let's start with the combat. Mm-hmm. So Pirate 101 takes place on a grid. I don't know much about Wizard 101, but it's certainly not cards.
No.
It's not cards, it's not pips, it's not mana. The thing you had in Pirate 101 was you had abilities with cooldowns, and you had movement and tiles. And essentially, it kind of worked like Dungeons and Dragons, where you could move and then make an attack. And some actions end your turn, some don't, sort of XCOM style. Essentially, the way the combat functioned was you were not just yourself. And this was the thing I found very strange. Mm-hmm. You could recruit NPCs to your cause.
Yes. Well, the game was structured so you get NPCs that join your cause. They're your crew, essentially.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Which makes it all the more strange that they made an MMO and everybody has their own team of NPCs rather than actually being a team.
Yeah. What happens is that in the free-to-play content, everybody's roaming around with the same NPCs because they are structured to come around the different parts of the story, and in the game, you're only given the introduction and the prologue for free.
With one exception. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets their class-specific
Yes,
NPCs.
they have a class-specific one, but here's the thing is that as the game progresses, there are more class... You got 2 class-specific ones in the original game. You got 2. One you got at the start, and another one in the tavern.
Yes.
So everybody had 2 class-specific ones, but then everybody got Bonnie Ann. And that's how the rest of the game goes, too. Is that the rest of the game has these specific characters that everybody gets, but they also have even more class-specific ones. So it gets to the point where everybody who has paid for the game, at least, is kind of running different companions, because these are the ones they've specifically chosen to make their highest people. Because in my experience, I won't go too much into it because I'll let you continue your description, but I actually, when I was younger, I actually paid for the membership for Pirate 101. So I ended up probably with about 35 different companions, something like that. And I got to choose essentially the top 5 that would actually follow me into combat.
So, and this is the relevant thing. Mm-hmm. You can take more than one of them into combat. It's not like a sidekick system. We were playing the game, and in a boss fight, all 4 of your party members can take place in the combat. Mm-hmm. And also all of you get 2 extra NPC party members. Mm-hmm. And since all of us were running Bonnie Ann, you had 4 Bonnie Anns and a bunch of weirdos flooding the room. We outnumbered the enemies. We had 12 people. And it tries to adjust by, placing more enemies, but we still outnumbered them.
We did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was hilarious. But it's so bizarre to see a game obviously designed for not this. Mm-hmm. Its combat system seems at odds with itself, because you have situations where you have the fact that you can collect characters, fascinating. The fact that they all have unique abilities and can be individually upgraded, rad, awesome.
train, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you have the actual moment-to-moment combat of the grid system and the fact that they all have their own unique abilities, which are the same as the class-specific abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So the person you get for your class-specific is your class. Mm-hmm. So you end up with a clone of yourself who's better at what you do than you, which is absurd.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up just...
Not necessarily, because like the musketeer didn't have a musketeer companion.
That was my experience with it.
Mm.
And I wish I could say that Pirate 101 left a glowing idea in my mind of like, this could have been fantastic. I'm honestly surprised it's as fun as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because its system is pretty lackluster, all things considered. But because it has... it has a lot of like fluff that really bring it up.
Yes.
And stuff like close shots on crits and like these.
Oh yeah, you get like that
animation.
Bum 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 bum.
And you just see like it zooms in super far, and you see this huge explosion, and it's just like
it reminds me.
You see the enemy, which is like a random crocodile, get evaporated.
It reminds me of Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Fire Emblem.
It's absurd and wonderful, and
it's Fire Emblem for kids.
Like Pirate 101 is like a combat system which is like a diet Fire Emblem, but it applies so much like good flair onto it that it makes it a good kids game.
Yes,
it's a lot of bright. It's a lot of bright noises and loud colors, and like. That's sort of that was the appeal. We genuinely had fun playing it in the middle of the night because it was bright noises, loud colors.
Yeah, exactly.
And are we gonna go into the class specific system? Because I don't remember.
I remember every detail.
Then you can do that.
do we want to? Is the question. Is it important? Is it important? There's two ranged classes, the Witch Doctor and the Musketeer. They can fire from afar. And then there's everybody else. They're melee. Done.
Except the one person who has both a gun and a sword.
Anybody can wield a gun and a sword. Each class has a specific attribute they draw power from. And you could choose a weapon that draws power from a power unlike the one that you're strong in. And but so you can technically use any weapon that's not specifically Witch Doctor only or like Musketeer only. Like I think you might be thinking of the Privateer.
I am.
Yeah, the Privateer. That class actually focuses on ship combat. It's the most interesting of all of them. It focuses on ship combat and companions. Fun fact: the Privateer, both in the free-to-play content and throughout the game, actually gets the most companions of all the classes. They recruit more companions than the other ones.
Unfortunately, we never got to experience ship combat.
No, well, we did.
The tutorial.
Yes, it was literally just a tutorial. So
we went from one island to another.
So what happened was I proposed to my friends that we play Pirate 101 because I remember as a kid playing through the free-to-play stuff for Pirate 101, and then I would mow the lawn to get money to pay for the Pirate 101 membership, and I continued on through the game from there. But I remember specifically the free-to-play content from Pirate 101 being substandard. Not substandard. Substandard is below standard. It was substantial.
That's
Wizard 101, their free-to-play content left you feeling empty. And Pirate 101's free-to-play content let you essentially access the entire first section of the first world. Each world is cut in like 3 pieces, and it let you experience like that entire first section. And like there's a part in Jonahtown, which is a town aboard this gigantic floating whale. And in the whale, there's a bucket that you can go down like the blowhole in, and there's like a town inside of the whale. And there's the Frog Father, which is a parody of the the Godfather in there.
A parody of the Dogfather, which is a parody of the Godfather.
And then there's this entire subplot that you used to get in the free-to-play content for the game, where you pull this entire heist on this palace. And it was just so much fun. But what happened was over time they added in new content to the beginning of the game. So they restructured the free-to-play model, so you would only get the introduction, and which is all the way up leading through Fin Dorsal, all the stuff on the regular Skull Island, and then it gave you a little section that had to do with these that was added on about the Mayan rhinoceroses, the Mayan dinosaurs, and they cut out 2/3 of the original free to play content to add in this 1/3 sliver. So it was really terrible because I remember the free to play content for Pirate 101 being so replayable. Like you could just go in and play like that palace invasion over and over and over again. It was a fantastic dungeon, and you got access to the full map in terms of ship stuff, and you actually had some capable equipment with you. It was just it was really sad to see them cut back the free to play content, but that's how these games work. Is that they give you just that little taste. I do remember, however, the original end of the free to play content. So your character is a pirate orphan, and you happen to do this quest for the Frog Father, and he found your parents' ship. He found your parents' ship. Your parents, they had like passed away. He found their parents' ship, and he's about to give it to you. And you go to the dock, and it says, "To be continued in next chapter." So literally, if you pay for the game, the first thing you get is your parents' ship. And it's like you get like a raft in the game with the free to play stuff, but this is like a legitimate pirate ship.
Yeah,
and they gatekeep it behind,
which is a great way of getting stupid kids to pay for the thing, which the new version does not encourage you to do.
It doesn't even get that far. Yeah.
In the new version, literally all that happens is like you go to investigate a ruin and somebody's like, well, I guess you're gonna have to go into that cave in order to figure out what's going on. And you go up to the cave and it says, you need to pay us money. Oh, okay. Sure. No thanks, actually. This is not really endeared me. It's like...
I think the last thing to talk about with Pirate 101 is the player versus player.
I disagree. The PvP of Pirate 101 kind of... it's a bit of a nothing burger. It's biting into bread. Like, there's not a whole lot of substance there. The combat is clearly not designed for PvP because all of your abilities are, 1, far too powerful, and 2, pets are broken, as you proved, because you put a sheep with 1 million health in there.
I think I took a pet from another playthrough.
And also, we have far too much health. We spent that entirety of our time playing PvP.
We ran out of spells.
Yeah, we were just like slapping each other with wet noodles. It was like nothing was happening. It was hilariously slow. Because we didn't have any of the like real abilities that did damage from the paid for segment of the game, which we would have had access to if for the previous version. So it was just like, man, let's watch a bunch of level 5s hit each other with like pool noodles. It's like good. It's like honestly not fun. We had more fun messing with its horrific coin system, which for the audience, there's this system of in the combat
doubloons,
where you have doubloons. And doubloons are a expendable resource which do a special thing on your turn. You can get them occasionally, but essentially they can do anything from rain money on everybody in the party to cause a dervish, like, huge windstorm to cut up everything in a 30-mile radius and knock all of your friends to the sides of the room. It is complete chaos. And playing PvP with that was a nightmare. Because you could conjure up enemies, you could throw people like all the way across this massive room. It's huge.
The balloons were actually a new edition.
It was a complete chaotic nightmare. But that part at least was fun. And then we got bored of it because we ran out of doubloons halfway through the combat because it was taking forever. So that's PvP. There is one other thing worth mentioning about Pirate 101, which we noticed. So you remember, what was her name?
Lorenzo? Scarlett Johansson?
What was her name, not your name?
Bonnie Ann?
Bonnie Ann!
Okay.
Thank you for reading my mind. Bonnie Ann is representative of a problem in Pirate 101, which is, I think, a product of its time.
Oh, we're talking about the F word?
Do you want to?
You go ahead. I'll let you lead this one.
What an honor! So, Bonnie Ann is, she is a musketeer. She has a gun, and is a very cool character in Pirate 101, in that she is a pirate captain lady.
Yes.
And is, like, kind of a badass.
She's got a really cool, I love her accent.
Yeah, she's actually, like, super cool.
Like that.
Yeah, that's exactly, that's the one.
Captain.
Hi, Captain.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's our character. Vaguely Irish, has a gun, pirate captain lady, seems perfectly fine. She's a fox. I don't mean
anthropomorphic fox.
Yeah, I'm not meaning like metaphorically, like, oh, she's a foxy lady. No, she is literally a fox.
Oh yeah,
and it is like not even subtle. It's not even like Legends of Pandaria, like WoW, where that's a panda. That's just a normal panda wearing armor. Mm-hmm. No, this is literally like a fox woman. This is like some deviant art nonsense. And as we were looking at the parts of the game we didn't get to experience, and I think the dog island that we first sailed to,
Marty Bone.
That's the one. Like, you realize that, like...
I hate that I know that.
Dude, it's fine. It's fine. Like,
there's Marty Bone, there's Mushu, there's a Napoleon Penguin side story. There's Wild West, but it's roosters.
The majority of the worlds and content of Pirate 101 are animal people. Mm-hmm. And it is, like... I don't know about the penguin.
Do you remember the platypus witch doctors?
No.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I think my companion was a platypus witch doctor.
But it was like, oh god. When I say...
The F word was furry, by the way.
Yes. It is straight up some furry deviant art level, like, oh cool, you've given this fox a pair of rockin' tits. So, it's like genuinely uncomfortable to play as an adult, because here's the thing, this was like 2010, 2012, back when this was like a thing people did. It was normal. And how? How did nobody see the problems with this? There were dozens of kids' games that were made in like 2012-ish that all had these like really weird and kind of racy animal characters.
Wizard 101 had those characters. Like I described the bear people. Wizard 101 had that, but in that game it was maybe 10% anthropomorphic to 90% human. But this game is 50-50, if not 40-60, if not 30-70 in favor of the anthropomorphic animal characters.
It is so much. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, it's a cool way to divide up the areas. Like the chicken place, like the rooster island, and like the dog island. They all have like distinct cultures because they are based on cultures. It's like they took a sort of stereotypical culture of a place in the world and assigned it an animal. And now that's the denizens of this island. And that's, like, actually pretty cool. Were it not for the fact that they decided to give them tits. So, like, it was really...
I thought we were going to talk about the pet system.
No!
Which is the best. What's that little, Tamagotchi? It's like Tamagotchi meets Pokemon.
Here's the thing. I can't talk about the pet system. I never got a pet.
You did get a pet. You get like a little like pig in an egg, right?
No.
No?
We literally, none of the rest of us had pets in the game. That's why
really?
we banned you from having them in PvP. Because you were the only person with a pet, and it was ungodly strong. Like, we literally couldn't get them because it wasn't available in the free content. So, Pirate 101.
Yes.
In review... gameplay was not that great, but the feeling of the gameplay was amazing.
Yes. It's an experience.
The world of Pirate 101 surprisingly functional. Pretty good. The denizens of Pirate 101, questionable. At best.
What are you doing to children these days?
Not even these days. It was those
days.
Nowadays, these days, those people are in their 20s and drawing this stuff.
Yes.
They like provided the awakenings of a lot of people, and I feel bad about it. That is a bad feeling. And
why do you think Space Jam got a sequel? Thank you, Pirate 101.
And shut up. Shut your mouth. Pirate 101. It's an MMO that's not as good as it used to be. No longer really has a place in our current climate. Is tied to a game that most people would rather forget or have forgotten. And I think that's all we can say about it. It functions.
Would you recommend
sorta
would you recommend the free-to-play content of Pirate 101 in its current state to gamers in the year of our Lord 2021?
No. On the Gregorian calendar 2021, I would recommend nobody play Pirate 101. I would recommend not even that they watch somebody play Pirate 101, because the free content of Pirate 101 is non-existent. We literally had more fun.
It was like 5 hours. I think we spent about, it was like cumulative?
We spent an hour of that spinning in circles in the lobby waiting for somebody, and we had a blast.
We did. We really did. Yeah, it was about 5 hours of content. Yeah,
and like, it was a mixed bag of content because it was a lot of tutorial. So like, cut 2 hours of tutorial out.
Not 2 hours. Maybe an hour.
It's intermittent. An hour of initial tutorial, but then they go on to give you more smaller tutorials over time.
Like the boat stuff and everything. Yeah,
there's not a lot of meat on those bones.
No.
And I would recommend instead you, I don't know, man, stare at a wall for an hour. Like, read Reddit. Make a mistake today. I don't know. Pirate 101's not great. That's the in review of that.
That's true.
I think it may be time for our final segment.
Yeah, our final segment is Cringe or Nah. So we're gonna analyze. We've got 3 different pieces of media here. We've got the Fast and the Furious 2001. We have Wizard 101 2008, and then we have Pirate 101 2012. And we are here to say which each of them are they. We're gonna discuss whether we feel individually it is cringe or nah, and then at the end we're gonna rank them. So and if you feel like the media transcends nah, we could enter godlyhood, like it legitimately good.
The phrase you're looking for is based.
Based, yes, based. That's it, based. So if you believe it is actually legitimately good, then it goes into based.
Yes. Yeah. So now it may seem strange to place the only good ranking as a exceptional thing. That may give you an idea of the kinds of things we're talking about here on this program. That bad is the default state of being, and not bad is exceptional.
So, Noah, The Fast and Furious 2001, cringe or nah?
Having watched it and just read a synopsis of it, I'm gonna throw out nah.
Nah? Okay.
How about you?
What do you want to substantiate that? Why nah? Why is Fast and Furious not cringe?
The Fast and the Furious is not a good movie by any stretch of imagination, but I would not call it cringe because it has met its own prompt. The Fast and the Furious may not be a movie, but what it is fan service, and that is literally what it set out to be. It set out to be a summer filler blockbuster for older white men to be like, yes, I'm a cool guy too. I also like car. And that it did accomplish this. It had a lot of pretty ladies on screen, and Vin Diesel looked cool. And you know what? I think it fulfilled the prompt. I say nah.
Okay.
It's not cringe.
My vote for the Fast and Furious 2001 would also be nah. Specifically because the film, it takes itself seriously. And although it would fall under the words pathetic, I would say.
Yeah.
It at least, for the type of film that it is, because it's the first in its franchise, it's the first to try to do the thing that they're doing. And it has that sort of like the truck sequence, which was actually like the only like good action sequence in the film is the truck invasion that goes wrong, the truck heist that goes wrong.
Oh yeah.
Because it has that and the semblings of like that sort of like police investigation plot and that twist with Vin Diesel. Because it has that, it meets like the bare minimum to say, okay, this is not really cringe. The 2001 era. Over sexualization of women is predominant in the film, but it doesn't necessarily like overpower it. I guess I would say
It's gross, but not excessive. But
Yes.
no, it's excessive.
it is excessive.
It's not beyond tolerances.
Yes. Barely.
This is something that it's a collection of scenes and characters and events that can successfully masquerade perhaps to a drunk man as a movie.
Yes.
And that's what it wanted to be.
Yeah. All right. Wizard 101, 2008. Cringe or nah?
I'm gonna throw out cringe.
Yeah. Okay.
So
From your initial impressions of Wizard 101, why would you say cringe?
Wizard 101 is a MMO for children, which used predatory practices in order to lure them in. Advertised so heavily that I know a significant amount about it, having never touched it. And also, it appears to be that they have a clan for edgelords to be in. Congrats, child. You are now in the clan of Edge.
Yes.
And
the death school.
yes. And also, it's not very good at doing what it does. It's for children. Its combat isn't. It's easily paid for. Except it was a subscription service. You couldn't buy content in blocks. Like
You can in Pirate 101.
Yeah, like you can in Pirate 101. You had to continue paying for Wizard 101 to access the same areas you had already accessed.
Not buying content in blocks in Pirate 101 is exorbitantly expensive, but you can.
Yes, and like that was a system that worked. Wizard 101 is a kid's game that fails to either be for kids or functionally a game. It's more than anything it's a collection of bells and whistles for a child to spend money on. And between that and its such a deeply running cultural impact that it had, which I say that jokingly, but really no, its terrible practices have been adopted by like large companies as of late.
Oh yeah.
So like Wizard 101, we probably would have been better off without you. Cringe.
Cringe, yeah. So Wizard 101 definitely falls under the cringe. The only saving graces of the film would be parts of the art style. I'd say there's three saving graces, like the art style that comes out in places like Rivenwood, some of the character design that was trying to go after the Harry Potter stuff, like there's a giant living tree in the middle of Ravenwood that's actually really cool. That stuff is a saving grace. The second saving grace here, I would say, would be the music. The music of Wizard 101 is pretty solid. It's memorable. It had a decent soundtrack that was fun to listen to when you walked around the different areas that played it. There was some good ambiance as well when it comes to the art design. There were a couple of really different areas, like there's a really dark area that's full of scarecrow men, and it was really dark and spooky. I love that, like the tonal shift, the character design. It was really creative. The third saving grace is the pet system. The pet system was really good. I believe the pet system is actually free to play in Wizard 101. I never spent a dime on Wizard 101. You got to play all these different mini games to work on your pets. You could breed pets. It was a really substantial and well fleshed out system. But then again, the game has Nick Jonas in it. And it is a predatory kids MMO game full of mini games. And every time you close the game, it opens up a Flash Games website. So I honestly, if it doesn't prey on children, then it would get a nah for me. If it didn't prey on children, it would get a nah for me.
Like,
because
World of Warcraft is the same thing, but for adults.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that would be a nah, because they're adults. They could be expected to handle this. They've been advertised to their whole lives.
Yes.
This is a baby. Stop advertising to babies.
The baby doesn't have a choice. The baby doesn't say, I could play Wizard 101 or I could play X MMORPG, right? This is the one MMORPG geared towards children.
At the time.
At the time, yeah.
There were a dozen things that tried to steal its thunder and failed.
Oh, yeah.
After it proved to be a hilariously good money-making scheme.
Nobody quite as infamous as Wizard 101.
Yeah.
So, on to our last one, which is Pirate 101. No, Pirate 101, Cringe or Nah?
This is hard. Because I played the game, and I'll admit, it could have been good. And from what I heard, it had been good. The Pirate 101 of the past could have been a nah. But the Pirate 101 of the present is irrefutably cringe.
Yes.
It sucks. Like, the Pirate 101 of the present is this, like, half-baked, mostly inaccessible collection of tutorials for a game that you're never going to pay for. It does not do a good job of marketing itself. It's not a good business strategy, and frankly, its combat system doesn't even fully flesh itself out in the free version. We don't get pets. At least in Wizard 101, I saw a level 5 person with a pet talking to Nick Jonas in that screenshot. But, so, like, that's clearly very apparent and very, like, upfront. But Pirate 101 just doesn't give you its everything before. Like, if we had gotten to the point where we met the Frog Father, we may have actually played more of the game after that.
Yeah. Like, you mean by continue to pay for it? Like
we might have actually like been tempted enough to play the game and pay for the game because we would have gotten more invested as a group, or at the very least would have had a better experience overall.
You start having like a team composition at that point.
Yeah. Instead of a bunch of losers slapping a thing as hard as they can. Pirate 101, I mourn your lost potential. But you're cringe now. And you will be forevermore.
I would definitely have to say that Pirate 101 in its current state is cringe, and I think your assessment from the person who actually played Pirate 101 and it's like its heyday of development was definitely nah. It was great. It was great. Well, when you got to go to Jonastown and you did the whole monkey like they were Spanish monkeys, and when you got to fight the Spanish monkeys in their own base, that version of the free to play Pirate 101 was excellent. It was probably closer to 7 hours of content. And it spent less time in tutorials. You got to leave Skull Island way more. There was a lot more to do with your ship. And it was just such a fantastic experience. And it really saddened me to see the state it was in right now. So definitely Pirate 101 in the state of 2021, cringe. But closer to launch stuff, I'd say no. It was a lot of fun, and I was really happy with it.
It's very strange to see how a game that is a spin-off of probably one of the most predatory children's games in probably history, the spin-off is friendlier. It's nicer to players and a lot less greedy. At least it was.
So we
had potential.
So we have our ranking. We have Fast and Furious at a nah. We have Wizard 101 at a cringe, and we have Pirate 101 at a cringe. The question is, since Fast and Furious is obviously above these two, which one's cringier? Who's the cringy? Who deserves the grand title of the cringiest?
So this is interesting because even we originally planned this segment that we would be comparing apples to oranges. I never anticipated we would both think that the Fast and Furious was nah, and both of these are cringe.
Yes.
But that's the way the conversation went. But now that we're comparing two things that ostensibly are incredibly similar, I'm realizing we're still comparing apples to oranges.
Yes.
Because the problems we have with both are wildly different. The problem I have with Wizard 101 is it is a moral nightmare. Every part of it is like antithetical to what a decent person would design a thing as. Pirate 101 is a game that has been stifled by poor development choices. And that is therefore not a fun gameplay experience. So we have two MMOs, one which is morally reprehensible and one which is just not fun to play.
Well, they're both morally reprehensible. It's just that Wizard 101 was definitely marketed to the wazoo.
I'd never heard about Pirate 101. Pirate 101 was a complete mystery. I didn't know about it until you mentioned it. It is a complete... I assumed it was some obscure like web game and that you were like punking me. Genuinely. So Pirate 101 definitely doesn't hold the same like evil that Wizard 101 does in my heart. Just because it was not nearly as commercialized. Of course it was a business. But it was not the same sort of like cartoonishly evil like twirling a mustache villain that you ended up with Wizard 101. And this really comes down to what you value more. Is it cringier to be reprehensible or not fun as a game? Which is more cringe for a game to be?
Well, Wizard 101 was kind of also not fun.
True.
They both share the not fun argument. But Pirate 101 has that. It has that newer flair to it. It has those nice graphics and everything. Like Wizard 101 had their spell graphics, which is like their equivalent to like the crits and everything, which were nice. But it was just such an the gameplay was so unsatisfactory that didn't have an impact. But Pirate 101 has that just tiny bit of strategy and that chance for crits and everything that just make it mwah, 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 chef's kiss. It finally makes it feel good to play. So I think personally, Wizard 101 now the free to play concept for the Wizard 101 has not changed significantly at all. Since when I played it as a kid and like today, but Pirate 101's has. Back in the day, Pirate 101 definitely has a leg up over Wizard 101. When it was before they made the changes, and currently with the changes, I actually would say that you might have a better time heading into Wizard 101, specifically if you go towards all the pet stuff. Because the pet stuff is really good, and you can actually grind the crap out of that as a free to play player. So there is some value to be had there that's not locked behind too terribly much of a paywall. But
it's a lot more functional.
But I still think so. They are kind of equal, but Wizard 101 has Nick Jonas's free to play content, so it deserves the title of the cringiest.
I think we're at a point where it's like. The scales are so equal that the camel's hair of Nick Jonas's name is enough to tilt the scales of fate. And you know what? I agree. Wizard 101 is the cringiest. So, that was our podcast.
Yes, that's it.
That was Podchassis.
You just experienced Podchassis. I'm your host, co-host Lorenzo.
I am also a co-host. I am Noah. And next time we will be reviewing your uncle.
How's he doing? How's your uncle been? What's he up to these days?
You should call him.
You should call him. Yeah. He misses you.
Alright, see you next time. Podchassis is a free product produced using royalty-free, Creative Commons, or fair use content. If you would like to contact us for questions, comments, or concerns, please contact us at podcomments@gmail.com. That's podcomments@gmail.com. As always, Podchassis is a labor of love, a love I'm certain that we share with you, the listener.